Hello, hi all. So today I'm going to discuss about the Azure Data Factory. In that we have a data flow activity. Okay. So basically, what is data flow? So data flow which performs the ETL transformations. Okay. So ETL, extract, transform, and load. If you see here, so this is the source, and here is the transformations, and here is the data load. Okay, so the ETL process. So what is a source? Source is nothing but we have so many sources, okay, which are offering by the Microsoft. Okay, so example, if you wanted to load dot parquet file format, okay, so you can load the parquet, or .json file format, you can hit the .json. And if you wanted to load SAP HANA, you can load all SAP HANA data by using this source. You can extract any data. Like if your data is a web API, okay, you can load the API data as well. Okay, so these are all the format which you can use and perform your ETL operations. Okay, so how we are going to access, as earlier I have represented. So we have a linked services. Okay, so the connection, if you see here, I have made this connection is nothing but linked service. Okay, so linked service is nothing but, okay, so this service is used to connect the source, your data set basically. Okay, in the technical terminology, it's your data source. By using this data source and linked service, so we are going to make the connection, and then will perform the transformations. Suppose example, I wanted to do some aggregation. Transformation in the sense, you may get a question, what is like transformation? So transformation is nothing but you can perform based on your client requirement. You can perform aggregates, or you can do sum, average, min, or you can perform joins, or you can perform like incremental. Okay, so all these things which you could perform by using the transformations. Okay, transformation in the sense, whatever your source data is there, for that source data, what is your outcome, how we are going to achieve your data in a proper way. Okay, so how we need to align your data. Okay, so whatever the client requirement is there, based on that, the transformations you can use, and you can make your data structurized. And thereafter, once your data is structurized and your data is working fine, then we will load this data into database. It's any database like Cosmos, MongoDB, okay, or Oracle, any DB. Okay, you can load into the DB after structurization. Okay, and remember this. So the data flow work with the cluster actually. So, okay, so this works based on Spark clusters. Okay, so this Spark cluster is very costly. Okay, and as well as, okay, so the you need to choose based on your volume of data. Okay, this cluster need to be decided based on your data volume, and so this cluster will process your data end to end. Okay, so based on your data volume, you can choose the cluster, and as well as you can process the data flexibly. And one more problem is the drawback of data flows is, okay, you don't have to write any code. You don't have anything to write code. Example, I wanted to write some Python code to manipulate my data. You don't have that facility. And also, if I wanted to write some Scala language or R language to manipulate my data, so that option is not available. Everything is in a GUI format. you need to choose your activity individually and you need to perform the transformation. And also one more thing is problem is if you wanted to perform 100 transformation, so this and your data is 1 million records example or 1 GB data example your file contain, and I wanted to perform 100 transformations, okay, and your example I'm saying, okay, so your transformations or activities, okay, it will take time to execute and it might complete in 1 week, okay, or hours of time. We don't know when it will complete, but it will take too much time, okay, and it's a time crunch. That is a one of the drawback of using the data flows. Only you can use SQL language, but other than SQL, so it is difficult to use the activities. So that is one of the major drawback. And here, if you go into the portal.azure.com, so in the portal.azure.com, so the data flows will be available in move and transform section. If you copy and paste, you see here, so this is the data flow, okay? And inside the data flow, you have these activities. I will represent as ETL load, okay? And these are common, even copy data activity also you have this retry and everything, timeout, retry options, everything there. And you see here there is a button symbol. So this button is nothing but it will enables you the cluster. I have mentioned right here. So this will enables you the cluster for your data processing. Without this one, you cannot able to execute the data flows. Okay, but copy data you can execute. But if you wanted to load data by using this data flow, you definitely need to enable this data flow debug option. Okay, so once you enable this switch, if you observe here, so these are all the runtime. You see here, this is the runtime, and also if you observe here, this is the region and computer size. So currently I have selected as a small computer size because I'm not processing any large volume of data, because again it will consume my data storage and everything. Okay, and debug time live. Okay, so debug time live, these are the hours: 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. The cluster will be available till 1 hour. Example, you have selected as 1 hour, so this 1 hour it will be live. After that, this will go off. It will uh, went into off status. Okay. Example, your data is running. Okay. Since example, you have selected 1 hour as a debug time, and your job is taking more than 1 hour. Okay. So after 1 hour, this will get timed out, and you will be landed up into the issues when you select this kind of option. Okay, so always, so this cluster availability is the another problem. Okay, so if you example, if your job running beyond 4 hours, so this won't work. Okay, so alwaysly, like when you choose any data flows or anything, you need to check your data and processing time to process your data. So now I'm selecting 1 hour as a data processing time, and this cluster will be available for 1 hour. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. So after enabling that, so you can just choose your data source. So I have already example, if I wanted to create any data source, you can create. And you see here inside, once I have selected, so you will see the source, and similar way, these are all the transformations. You can select joins and conditional split, union, exist, lookup, derived column. So all these transformations which are provided for each category wise. You have multi-input and multi-output transformations are there. Schema modifiers are there, formatters are there, and row modifiers are there. You can choose based on your requirement. Okay, So example, you have selected derived column and you have selected select value and you have selected rank. And finally, after doing all these transformations, you can load the data into a database. So sync is nothing but your target. Source is nothing but your source file or a database or any SAP HANA database, anything. And transformations are nothing but what you are going to perform exactly with your data. And finally, we are going to load our data into the DB tables. Okay. So this is the short explanation about the data flows. So I'll explain in the another session in detail about how this cluster will work and how we are going to act with the remaining data. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, team.